Let's see every type of name. Now it's enhancement. I don't know my name.
We will be beginning a detailed journey through Hunter x Hunter by taking some time to examine the individual Nen affinities as well
This is what I study.
as their users, commencing with Enhancement. Now, if for whatever reason you're not too familiar or not too solid on the concept of Nen in general, then I highly recommend you watch this video first, because a lot of what I'm going to talk
I think it's better when you don't understand.
about here relies
I
on
don't like
some
understanding.
basic assumed knowledge of Nen. It won't be too much, just simple things like aura manipulation, as well as foundational principles, but assuming that you're a complete Hunter x Hunter boss by now, we are going to dive straight into
Yes, my favorite character is the worm.
Enhancement. So this is by far the most basic Nen affinity of the 6 categories, so I figure that it's a nice one to start with, and basically the objective of this art form is to have its users wield their aura to increase the general strength or durability of either an object or parts of the user's body. So as a result, the
Or it's just punching somebody in the face. That's the best type of name for that. If you enjoy punching people in the face, I enjoy that. I think it's very fun. If you enjoy that, it's for you, this type of name.
large majority of enhancers that we encounter in the series are going to fall into a very simple category of brawlers, and as such it can be something of a common belief that enhancers don't actually need to develop a unique Hatsu of their own, and they can excel by applying the basic and advanced principles of Nen just to a significantly more potent degree than those without the enhancement affinity. And while there is a great deal of truth in
Yeah, you can have that, or you can, I don't know, summon a snake with 3 heads.
that thought, it is no way
That's why this is most boring. Most people like they summon demons. They put some dinosaurs and things, and those type of names just punch
the
people.
be-all and end-all of enhancement, which
But I think it's,
we will explore.
if you like simple things, this is for you, punching people in the
But
face.
for now, I should also point out that of the 6 categories, Enhancement is certainly the most balanced because it allows users to have roughly equitable attack and defensive capabilities. Because the logic is the stronger that you can make your attack, then in theory, you should be able to defend using that exact same aura manipulation, just distributed differently. However, to counter that whole point about balance, Enhancement is by far the least versatile Nen ability, so while it may provide a user with some general comfort in Nen combat, it's not going to be the
Yeah, my favorite power is the cheetah power. Like you summon a different word and you just play hide and seek or something like that. You're just just playing with the guy.
discipline that will
I like the cheetah. The cheetah is my favorite character.
to use a maximum reward for the art form, which is why I would argue that Enhancement is best used in conjunction with one of the other affinities. And speaking of, according to the Nen Ring,
I think I'm specialization because I'm 0%. No, I think I'm manipulation. No, I think I'm emission. No, maybe I'm transmutation. I know. I think I'm conjuration. No, I must be an enhancement.
Enhancement is bordered by emission and transmutation, with emission being another fairly basic mechanic on its own. However, in combination with other affinities, it does become pretty phenomenal. And as for transmutation, this is most certainly the best friend for natural enhancers, because it provides them with that much needed versatility should they choose to invoke it. Which, to be fair, they may not, because if we examine the ever reliable source that is the horny battle clown Hisoka, his Nen personality analysis scheme defines
Yeah, he used enhancement on his dick, I think,
enhancers as simple and
to
determined,
stay longer.
often completely subject to their emotions, and very straightforward fighters who are unlikely to think too far beyond the simple rush of battle. And as for whether or not that's true, well, let's find out. And obviously we should start by examining our primary protagonist, Mr. Gon, who is an example of enhancement incarnate, and his signature Hatsu rock from the Jajunken set reflects this, because this is one of those situations that we're talking about where defining rock as a Nen ability doesn't necessarily work, because it could more accurately be described as a combination of the established principles of Nen. In essence, Rock sees Gon perform a supercharged version of Ko, which is allowed to exist because Gon takes an incredible risk in terms of the time he needs to power it up, but also in this—
Yes, you have a point about this. If you make a mistake putting your Nen, you can break your arm, you can break your soul, you can break your spirit. I don't know, you can break your hair. Everything you can break. I think Gon needs to put Nen even on his hair.
process, he forgoes any form of aura defense. So it's a gambit technique that relies on defeating an opponent right then and there. In addition to this though, Gon can further power up the Ko by building up his Ren, but in the end what you do have is a big old puncho that if you get hit by it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, this is the classical. I think this is like what solves most people's problems, just punching.
You're taking some pretty serious damage. And in fact, most average people—
But if you have a sibling or a teacher or a master or I don't know, somebody you know who is dying with a very bad disease, just punch the disease. Like I have a cancer in my stomach. Punch the stomach and you're gonna kill the cancer with your punching. This is a punching therapy. This is the new type of things.
people would
The Chinese, they used those needles to stick on people. I use punch because you can put a needle in my belly, but if you can punch it, I think you're gonna feel the energy way more.
Be killed upon
So punch the cancer out of people.
impact with it. So it's a very stock standard enhancement maneuver really, and to see a similar
This is my enhancement technique.
example, let's now turn to another enhancer in Uvogin, who, godlike and legendary figures aside, is quite possibly the physically strongest character that we have ever encountered in the series, and his grand attack is known as Big Bang Impact, which similarly to
He seems like a gay dude who dances at the club. I don't know. He's a different guy, but at the same time, I don't know. He's very naked.
Gon's Rock,
I think this annoys me.
has Uvogin focus his aura into
How
a
naked this guy is.
fist via Ko, and then he very simply punches a target, which generates enough force to rival that of a small missile. And that seems pretty phenomenal in comparison to Rock, but all of this is made possible primarily through Uvogin's absurd base physical strength, as well as his profound mastery of enhancement, but also through a set of restrictions on the attack itself, which Machi implied can only be performed by Uvogin's right fist, and it must be a straight punch. So there is very little room for versatility with Big Bang Impact, but at the same time,
But it's a very annoying punch. Imagine you having this punch in your face. Nothing seems the same anymore. I think you're gonna think different. Maybe you're gonna start listening to different music. I don't know, but you're gonna change.
versatility is not necessarily the
And he's using a wife beater as a shirt.
aim of Uvogin's straightforward game. If anything, Uvogin is what I would call the ultimate pure enhancer, because his strategy in life is to tackle everything head on and force his way through with simple brute strength. And for an awfully long time, to be fair, that strategy did work out pretty well for him. But his
Yeah,
demise at
pretty well. He was the first to die.
the hands of Kurapika really highlights the flaws of pure enhancement, because even if we disregard Chain Jail, Uvogin's simple tactics could not stand up to a competent Nen user capable of actually thinking and strategizing. Enhancement isn't always about fist-based attacks though.
I love this character. I think this is my favorite character. Like everything this character did in the story, I just love it. Like I think this is the character most people should cosplay. Nobody's cosplaying this guy. Everybody's cosplaying Crollo. Everybody's cosplaying Hisoka. Nobody's cosplaying this rabbit who puts horses on their places. Nobody's respecting this great character.
And to briefly examine that, I
I
now
think he needs some tributes.
present to you a bunny named Ramot. I guess more accurately, a Chimera Ant enhancer who used his brief time on this planet for the simple task of creating a technique known as feather blades, which, as the name implies, enhances his feathers to the point where they become super sharp and super strong. So very basic enhancement and effective, although not quite effective enough. A more interesting and diverse use of enhancement can be found in the character of Palm Siberia though, who most people often forget is a natural enhancer, and that does make some degree of sense because her two most memorable abilities, being Wink Blue and Moment Clairvoyance, do not appear to invoke enhancement at all. And to be honest, it's quite difficult to discern exactly how she does achieve
Wait, she's enhancement. That doesn't make sense.
these, and if I didn't know for a fact that she was,
Like if you have a giant thing on your forehead, you can't be enhancement. That's something about psychic powers or anything like that. You can't be enhancer with this in your head. She's the most Indian woman ever because she has the giant thing in the middle, the chakra, the third eye. Her third eye is gigantic.
I'd say that it was special.
And she's enhancement. She needs to be a mystic. Specialization, I don't know.
But in terms of enhancement, Palm shines through the use of the Black Widow Hatsu, which is a very fancy way of saying that she can enhance her hair and wrap it around herself to act as body armor, which then allows Palm to focus on devoting the majority of her aura to attacking rather than using a substantial amount of it to defend, which is very handy for her because she doesn't quite have that raw physicality that an Uvogin would. So it's a much more sophisticated enhancement strategy than the more reckless invocations of Gon and Uvogin, and I should say that while unconfirmed, it is also incredibly likely that Black Widow requires Palm to use manipulation to shape her hair, which is a pretty fantastic example of where I believe enhancement is best applied, which is in conjunction with another discipline. Enhancement does continue to
she's my wife. I love her forever.
get more diverse in this though, and the comparatively recent character of Bill shows us this as he is a rare individual in the world who is a natural enhancer with a supportive type Hatsu. His ability, known as Erigeron, allows him to accelerate the growth of a living being. So for example, he can make a seed sprout into a plant within mere minutes, but he can also use his ability on humans to directly enhance
Minutes? You can't fight with that. We're gonna take 3 hours in the fight. Let's wait until this bamboo starts to grow,
individual Nen power.
and then we're gonna fight. But man, you have other plans around. You don't need to plan a new one. I need it.
So Bill is the kind of enhancer who is best kept out of combat, but a huge benefit to any partnership or group dynamic. Very interestingly though, we also have an example of at least one enhancer who does not appear to use his natural affinity at all, which is Isaac Netero. And I guess I should say that Netero was only revealed to be an enhancer in a wide variety of Hunter x Hunter data books and data sections available, which do, sometimes contain some very questionable information being distributed, but that mostly affects names.
I think he's enhancer. I didn't see he doing anything besides enhancement things. He has the giant Buddha, but I think it's enhancement and conjuration.
The fact that Netero has been stated to be an enhancer in multiple incarnations of these makes me think that, yeah, we should take it at face value. But it's interesting because Netero's signature Hatsu, the 100 type Guanyin Bodhisattva, makes use of emission, manipulation, and transmutation to operate. So emitting the statue of Guanyin, manipulating its hand movements, and transmuting the aura into a blast style attack that you see in Zero Hand. Strangely enough though, enhancement is not officially credited at all in this ability, although I could see a use for it in regards to beefing up the base strength of the statue, but then again, enhancement doesn't really—
It's so sad because he has a Buddha with 1,000 arms and he loses for an insect. So, and the insect is like 3 months old or 3 weeks old, something like that. It's a baby. It's a baby insect. Just a fucking baby insect killed this guy with the Buddha, and he trained during his life and meditated in the snow and everything, the mountains and Himalayas, and the fucking cockroaches kills this legendary dude. This is so unfair.
Really get
a baby cockroach kills
used on
this
their
guy
constructs all that often, and it seems to be almost
who plays chess.
exclusively applied to objects that already exist, and of course people that already exist. So like Guido's basic enhancement moves with the spinning tops, for example. These tops are regular objects that Guido turns into deadly attacking devices, but off the top of my head I can only really think of one confirmed example of a character that makes use of enhancement to juice up a Nen construct, which comes to us in the form of Castro, who was able to use enhancement on his doppelganger via the true Tyger Bite fist attack. Although interesting thing about Castro, now that we've brought him
this useless dude
look, Netero is not the only example of an enhancer who chose to specialize in other disciplines, with the other notable individual being Castro. Although Castro is no Netero, and he certainly does not succeed to anywhere near that degree. Castro is actually something of an unfortunate individual who was able to create a really cool ability through a combination of conjuration and manipulation. However, those affinities happen to lay the furthest away from enhancement on the Nen ring, bar specialization of course.
I like the Beyblade guy. I think the Beyblade guy is my favorite.
So as a result, Castro was never really able to reach the full potential of anything, really. He was naturally stunted in terms of conjuration and manipulation, and he never focused on enhancement beyond a very simple attack, powering up his hands. So as much as I advocate for mixing enhancement with other affinities in order to get maximum usage out of it—
What if your clone starts hating you and you start arguing during the fight? I would argue with my clone. I wouldn't be so peaceful with my clone. I think we would have some differences.
Castro is the ultimate example of that just going wrong, because he did more or less abandon his own specialty. And furthermore, Castro is also an enhancer that doesn't necessarily fit Hisoka's personality test because he's something of a tricksy being. Not at all simple-minded, which, doesn't necessarily prove Hisoka's—
Ah yes! Hisoka is a moving quiz. He starts doing this with everybody.
Thesis wrong, and in fact, if anything, Castro is the exception that proves the rule, because his personality was just plain incompatible with the art of enhancement. Now for some other personalities who are tough to look past, we have Yuppie, the Chimera Ant Royal Guard, who presented himself as—
This is the coolest. Come on, this is the coolest. He becomes every fucking great creature.
A very simple individual, but one capable of great growth. He was a natural enhancer.
Like, this is the most beautiful character I've seen in my life. If I had to date a guy, this would be the guy that I would choose in this form. Like, I think he's gonna see my soul. Like, because people say the eyes are the windows for the soul or something like that, something stupid like that. But this guy has a lot of soul because he has a lot of eyes, so he has many windows. So you can see his soul more, so it's more lovable, and he can touch his feelings more. And only that. Besides that,
I also don't think it's really fair to examine the royal guards too closely, because their aptitude for Nen makes a natural affinity pretty pointless, unless of course it is specialization. The thing is, Yuppie had the sheer quantity of aura and natural talent to make devastating use of any discipline.
And this guy is an insect, that's the funny part.
And in fact, the only confirmation we have on how any of his abilities worked is that Rage Blast is a clear example of omission. Metamorphosis and Rage Incarnate are much more difficult to diagnose, but I feel like a combination of enhancement and manipulation makes a lot of sense in regards to how he...
The funny thing is, the guy is hot when he doesn't have 1,000 eyes, because he has abs and he has those Krishna arms, I don't know, and yeah, this guy is beautiful.
Changed and powered up his body. Turning to the Phantom Troop once again though, and they have two more enhancers that are not Uvogin, being Finks and Nobunaga. Now Finks makes a lot of sense because his ability, the Ripper Cyclotron, sees him increase the power of his eventual punch with each time he winds up his arm in a clockwise direction. And this actually bears a lot of similarities to Gon's rock technique, because Finks actually needs to take usually quite a decent amount of time to charge his attack.
It's funny because the guy looks like an idiot. This is because if you see everybody spinning their arms, you think, oh, what? This is an idiot.
15 rotations being required to destroy the...
That's how you think when you see the other guy, the other dudes, the Frankenstein with the bullets, and you see this guy spinning his arms like an idiot. It's so different.
Body of a particularly resilient Chimera ant. It's a fascinating use of enhancement though, because rather than performing an advanced Ko, it's more like Finks has set himself a Nen limitation, needing to perform the rotations to access great power, which is hugely advantageous in this case, because it means that he can still keep up a great natural defense, whilst being afforded the opportunity to attack viciously. And as for Nobunaga, he definitely fits the bill of an enhancer, being an honorable warrior type, and even though we don't have a solid example of him applying the affinity, I imagine that he would use it in a much more precise manner than the pure punch bombs that are Gon, Uvogin, and Finks. And just to round out our natural...
Yeah, the guy has the name of the legendary samurai, Nobunaga. So I think he's gonna use his sword. Imagine if he doesn't use his sword, and his sword just like something to look cool. It's just a thing for his clothing or something like that. It's not a real weapon. It would be so funny.
We also have
we discovered the guy just throws fire through his hands, and the sword is nothing. It's just something beautiful.
Gon and Killua's initial teacher of Nen, he just so happens to be an enhancer, which doesn't initially seem to fit Hisoka's personality branding. Although to be fair, we never...
You see the character for 1,000 episodes with a sword, and are we gonna see the power? And he never uses his power has nothing to do with the sword. I think this is would be great. I would love it.
Really learned quite enough about Wing. The one I find the most fascinating though...
This is Killua Oji-chan.
According to the official Hunter x Hunter databook, Maha Zoldyck is an enhancer, which should raise big question marks for those of you familiar with the abilities of the Zoldyck family, who operate exclusively as transmuters or manipulators. So basically every white-haired Zoldyck is a transmuter, and every black-haired one is a manipulator. But I guess Maha has no hair, so that might give him some...
Maybe he has both, like Cruella.
Comedic license to be a bit different, but I just find it fascinating that he's the odd one out when every known generation below him subscribes to the classic Zoldyck standard. And there you have it, a fairly detailed overview of enhancement as well as natural enhancers. So no, it's not a simple case of saying that enhancers are all brute force combatants, although admittedly a lot of the prominent users in the series do subscribe to this labeling. I maintain that enhancement is best used in combination with other sectors of the Nen Ring, and it can also be applied purely in a supportive nature. So there is much more versatility in this art than many give it credit for. Although to be fair, that versatility isn't taken advantage of by most basic enhancers. So for now, enhancers of Hunter x Hunter, I salute your broad simplicity. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, that's better, simplicity. I don't like complicated things, but I don't like simple things too. I like something that's kind of half simple and half complicated. So I need a type of Nen who is very simple and complicated at the same time, you know?